How's it going, and welcome to Villains Voiced, a series where I go over your favorite villains that you love to hate. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the cast of Castle Ravenloft. There's quite a handful of people here, and I'm going to show off what makes them so delightfully delectable. Of course, there is going to be a ton of spoilers, so players do not watch this, but DMs that want that added insight, go ahead and stick around because we have a lot to cover. And here they are, the cast of Castle Ravenloft itself. It's quite a handful of named NPCs here, and that makes sense. Strahd isn't living in this castle all by himself. He's got a whole bunch of people in here. There was at one point, of course, many more, but they have all since died out. So here I'm going to show off all of the named NPCs. Of course, there's many unnamed NPCs that are floating around here. My favorites being the witches, and then there's several others. But I'm not going to go into those because they didn't earn a name. But I will be talking a bit about the dynamics of how they can interact with one another. Starting off with Rahadin, the brother to Strahd von Zarovich.
My master bids thee welcome to this fine castle. Enjoy in all of its delights while you still can.
Rahadin, I believe, should be one of the most reoccurring antagonists in this entire campaign. You can bump into him a number of locations, and I strongly recommend that Rahadin be one of the first NPC antagonists that your players meet in the lands of Barovia. And I think they should be right there in the beginning, whether you have them show up in the graveyard, or right outside Death House, or wherever it is you start off your campaign. Rahadin is a unique character in that this person started off as a simple being, but of course was driven to cause these terrible acts of genocide against his own people. And of course now faithfully serves alongside Strahd. He sees the kind of person Strahd grew up as and the person Strahd has become. He sees all this, but he accepts it. Does he accept all this on a sense of honor, or does he do it because he's on board with all these schemes and machinations? That really comes down to what kind of Rahadin are you trying to run? Are you trying to run him as a pure villain, as an antagonist? Heck, maybe he can be a redeemable character, as he could potentially help your players try and drive the evil out of Strahd. One of my most favorite places to showcase Rahadin's character is in the Amber Temple. Your players may have already bumped into Rahadin, or maybe not even. In the Amber Temple, they will see Rahadin, and Rahadin won't attack them. He will simply go and prostrate himself to the gods, he'll swallow a toad whole, and he'll mutter some prayer trying to reprieve Strahd of his terrible fate. That right there is totally awesome. That gives your players a sense of the kind of character that he is, that he's willing to go out of his way to help out Strahd, but at the same time, he's loyal to Strahd. Where do those loyalties lie? What is he willing to do for Strahd, and what is he willing to do against Strahd? Next up, we have Helga Ruvak.
Oh, thank goodness you've come. By the light of Lathander, thank you. I've been trapped here for so long. Please, please won't you help me?
But guess what? Helga is not innocent at all. Unlike some people who have been whisked away to Castle Ravenloft against their will, Helga came here on her own. She wanted a reprieve from the terrible lands of Barovia, and she wanted to serve in this castle. And here she was transformed into a vampire spawn, and now finds herself in the employ of the castle. Helga is a very unique character in that it's clearly showing that she is evil to the core. But the thing I want to go over is she truly someone that exists in the lands of Barovia, or is she someone that just happens to be placed there? What I would like to see is your players get to hear a rumor that a one Helga Ruvak disappeared a long time ago, and then your players can make up the decision of, oh, was she captured or did she go away on her own? Your players will eventually discover this once Helga turns on the party, but to keep up the appearances, make sure that Helga appears as a human, but whenever she gets the chance, whenever the opportune moment strikes, she dons on her vampiric spawn gaze and tries to kill somebody. Helga, in my mind, is irredeemable because she signed up for this life. She showed up here wanting to get away. She signed up to be a vampire spawn, and she is only keeping up appearances just to get the better of the party. She is going to burn the party whenever she gets the chance. Whenever Strahd shows up, or a whole bunch of other forces show up, or if someone's being dumb and stands on top of a ledge, then she's going to shove them. Whatever the chance is, she's going to take it. Next up, Escher.
Oh, I've grown so bored of this place. I've been cooped up in here for so long. Strahd has all but forgotten me. Perhaps you all can entertain me for some time.
Escher is not quite one of Strahd's brides, but of course a lot of people love Escher because of the kind of character that he is. Escher is someone that fears being thrown away like some of the other vampiric spawn brides. He is going to try and do his utmost to try and keep up appearances to make Strahd happy. But at the same time, he's also bored. He's been chilling in here and he hasn't had anything to do for quite some time. So he is going to try and manipulate the party in a way that would allow him to have creative freedom and at the same time keep him out of the crypts. Escher does not want Strahd to be reunited with Tatiana because that means that it's guaranteed that he's going to be all but forgotten. So he is probably going to try and help the party in a sense, but at the same time, he also wants to make sure that Strahd is happy, and he will not do anything openly to gain his terrible wrath. That being said, Escher is a great font of inspiration for roleplay about in the castle, as Escher could potentially lead the players around a little bit, tell them a few things, and maybe even get himself thrown into an awesome combat. Piddlewick II. Piddlewick can't talk. There really isn't any voice to be had. You have to pantomime with this character. And if you're playing online and you don't have any video, then you definitely just have to say, okay, he mimes this, it does that. You have to do those things. But Piddlewick II is a very unique character in that if your players hop on this player's good side, then Piddlewick's going to show them around and be a tour guide for the castle. But if anyone says anything bad, saying, oh, that's a creepy doll, or oh, that's weird, then Piddlewick II is going to try and shove them down a flight of stairs whenever he gets the chance. And mind you, that staircase where you first encounter Piddlewick II is pretty dangerous. If someone gets thrown down there, they could easily die. So that's always something to keep an eye out for. If your party is full of good, kind-hearted people, no issue at all. But if you got people that speak out openly and say mean things, then hey, maybe karma will bite them back. Now, while Piddlewick II may be a guide for the party, it's not going to know absolutely everything. Perhaps there's some traps that it inadvertently sets off and gets the whole party wrapped up in. Maybe it accidentally leads the party to the elevator. Maybe it just simply walks around and gets people thrown into combats, and it's not going to try and get involved at all. Piddlewick II is going to simply just dive to the side and not get involved at all because the thing's not a fighter. It's got attacks, yes, but it's not very good at them. There is, of course, the fun opportunity that if you have Piddlewick II, you could perhaps reunite Piddlewick II with Piddlewick I, and that could be an absolutely fun confrontation, especially if your players don't know that Piddlewick II is the murderer. Then you could have the real Piddlewick say, "It was you!" And that would cause a whole bunch of commotion and a ton of great roleplay opportunities. Cyrus Belview.
Come on, we got a stew to make here. Oh, this is such hard work. I'm not getting any younger. Hey, would you mind beating down the stew?
Cyrus Belview is a mongrel folk that has been working here for quite some time and is completely insane. And, that just adds to his character. Cyrus Belview is going to not attack the party ever because it's way too weak at this point of the game. It's simply going to just, make the party feel uncomfortable. The fact that there's this butler floating around the castle that's doing menial tasks and stirring up zombies' pots. And, oh yeah, if the party looks around, then Cyrus Belview is going to start to covet all their items and go, and not going to do anything, but, that's just funny. If you got a party that doesn't kill characters openly, then yeah, that's going to be a fun time. But I do suspect that if you've got a murder hobo party, then Cyrus Belview is probably not going to get too much action, sadly. Whereas Rahadin is the castellan of the castle, I see Cyrus Belview as being the old butler that everyone tolerates and simply moves about the castle and really doesn't do that much work. Emil Torenescu.
Please, get me out of here. I've been locked in here for so long I don't even remember. If you get me out of here, I promise I'll repay you. But please, hurry.
Emil will try and feed the party a fake story about how he lives somewhere else, but in reality, of course, he is the werewolf leader. He has been captured because he has displeased Strahd and has been locked in here for some time, and your players have the chance to free him. If your players do free him, then much like everyone else around here, he's going to play it up like he is just joining the party, but if he does get the chance, he will try and turn on the party to get on Strahd's good side. Which is interesting. there is the possibility that your players roam around Castle Ravenloft and no good opportunity presents itself. Then you have to get in that consideration of what happens then. Does Emil go back to town? Then that's going to be interesting because no one's going to recognize Emil, which is going to be a fun roleplay opportunity as well. Emil is evil, yes. He is a werewolf after all, and being a werewolf does warp your mind after some time. But the thing is I do see Emil as someone that is not stupid. They are going to try and do whatever it takes to survive. They're going to do what's best for themselves and what's best for the clan. And if siding alongside the party is going to provide a better opportunity for the werewolves, then he may take it. He may say, hey, look, Strahd has us doing some stuff. Maybe we can work things out. Or, hey, you know, our pack is got some issue with the civil war going on. If you help me out on my side, then we can settle some things. I really like Emil. Emil can definitely be a fun character that keeps coming up over the course of the campaign, whether that be outside in the lands of Barovia or constantly in Castle Ravenloft. Yeah, that first time easily can be found in the room where you find him in the book, in the dungeons there. But after some time, maybe Emil gets allowed to roam around the castle but is on house arrest. I think that could be a fun opportunity to have some dynamic encounters in the castle. Sasha Ivliskova.
Strahd? Is that you? No. No, please. No. No.
Sasha is a former bride of Strahd, and unfortunately for her, she has been locked away and forgotten for a long, long time. I can only imagine the complete horror and dismay one would feel if you were locked away in a cramped room for hundreds of years. That would easily put a toll on anyone's mind, and maybe she is broken. But I like to think that she is a redeemable character. Not that she isn't evil, because she may have well been evil, but I do think that maybe she's harbored a resentment against Strahd for so long that with enough roleplay opportunity, your players could turn her against Strahd. If your party is smart and on board with roleplay against villains and antagonists, then seeing this position here, seeing Sasha, who has been locked away for some time, maybe they will strike up and say, hey, look, we want to kill Strahd, maybe you could help us, and that could be awesome. Having a vampire spawn join the party in the final encounters all throughout the Castle Ravenloft could be a great time, and that would be a great way for Sasha to get a little bit of redemption. But at the same time, maybe Strahd's power against Sasha is so incredibly strong that the first time Sasha encounters Strahd, Strahd is able to turn her against the party. I think there's a lot of fun things you can do with that. And also the interesting thing is, what about the other people in Castle Ravenloft? Who would still recognize her besides Rahadin? Do the newer wives actually know who Sasha is? Maybe they don't. Maybe if the newer wives see Sasha, then they'll say, ooh, maybe we don't want to end up like that, and maybe they stay out of the party's way. There's a lot of things you can do with that. Ludmilla Vilasevic. I'm curious about your outside world. Tell me everything, please. Oh, and don't worry. We have all the time in the world. When it comes to the three brides of Strahd, I like to break them down into three different archetypes. I like to have Ludmilla as the wizard who is searching out for arcane knowledge and just general know-how of the worlds. I like to see Anastrasya as the brutish one who is forceful and gets whatever she wants through sheer power. And Volenta as being the charismatic, whimsical one that goes along with the chaotic tides of the world. And to that degree, I give Ludmilla a bunch of spells and cantrips and a whole bunch of fun things. And I make her definitely the one that is casting all the magic around Castle Ravenloft right now. She's not as powerful as Strahd, but she is still learning, but she has a bunch of fun tricks up her sleeve. If there are any arcane spellcasters in the party, Ludmilla will attach herself to those people in particular. She is going to be curious. She's going to want to read their spell books if they have any, investigate any sort of magical items that they have, and most importantly of all, try and pick their brains about what's going on in the world, how do people get more of this magic, and how one goes about becoming more powerful. Anastrasya Korylova.
You look absolutely delectable. I cannot wait until I rip your flesh asunder. But do not fear. This will not be over quickly. I shall allow you to live for some time.
Where Ludmilla is intelligent, I have Anastrasya as maxing out those physical stats. That strength, that dex, that constitution, she is strong. And when she gets into combat and she lets her true self show, her muscles rip, her limbs stretch, and her jaw unhinges. She is larger than life, and she can rip a man apart in the blink of an eye. Anastrasya wears ruby red, and mind you, that dress did not start off as red. That is adorned with the blood of her enemies over time, because she likes to soak it all up. Anastrasya is the kind of vampiric spawn who will attack the party even against Strahd's orders, but will purposely hold back just a little bit and pull back just before anybody dies. Anastrasya is going to pick on the party, trying to make them feel weak, bully them into submission, and in particular, if there is anybody in the group who is a martial prowess who's strong, she's going to go after them just to make them feel that much weaker. She's going to try and push herself in a position of power above the rest of the party. Volenta Popovsky. Now what will today's pleasures hold? Will we see chaos? Will we revel in decay? Or perhaps we shall embrace the all-and-mighty darkness all around us. Who knows? Do you? I see Volenta as someone who was turned in the middle of a party. Someone who revels in a ball and hasn't exactly gotten their mindset out of it. Someone who wants the night to go on and sees life as one big fiesta. To reflect her chaotic nature, you can show off the fact that every person that the party ever meets is always going to act in a certain believable manner. Except for her. She is going to flow with the tides of chaos. She is going to simply meander about, and maybe she'll be happy-go-lucky with the party one moment, and then the next time they meet her, they will be in for the fight of their lives. And maybe right there before the final blow is struck, she is going to invite them to a ball, and the ball is a mandatory affair, and she can laugh it all off while the party is nursing their wounds. There's a lot of great ways you can show off her chaotic nature, and making her force the party into roleplay elements is certainly a fantastic way to go about it. Now, when it comes to the cast of Castle Ravenloft, of course, in that textbook, we see there that Rahadin goes down the stairs, and then at any other time, you can find him at his office, and all the other characters are like, wherever it is that they're placed in the books. Do not live up to that, right? If you are having multiple trips to Castle Ravenloft throughout the course of the campaign, which I strongly recommend, they should be mobile forces. They should be moving about the castle. They should not only be moving about the castle, but I do strongly recommend that some of them go out to the outside world. I think Rahadin is a great example of that. They go out in the outside world, and I certainly think that the Brides of Strahd are a fantastic way to slowly seed out the adventure over time. Have the characters meet up with the Brides of Strahd, and then they meet them at the castle, and it's going to be a fun, climactic moment. In addition to that, you should have them not only interacting with the party a lot, but they need to interact with each other in front of the party. You should have them show off that some people are going to like each other and some people are not. But at the end of the day, there is a power structure here. Rahadin is above almost everyone else here. Helga Ruvak is an underling. Escher is the playboy up in the tower that doesn't get seen that often, etc., etc. Make those relationships known, and what that's going to inform your party is they're going to see if they're going to be able to drive some wedges in some relationships. They're going to see if they can try to turn people against one another. But of course, at the end of the day, they are all loyal to Strahd. But will your players have what it takes to cement themselves in that power structure? Will they be able to sever the tides between the cast of Castle Ravenloft and Strahd? I certainly think there's the possibilities there, but that certainly comes down to their willingness to try and seek out those opportunities. As I mentioned before, there's many other characters in the castle itself, but most of them are unnamed. But of course, they can still have a lot of fun roleplay elements about them. You should have those prepared. If your players get into contact with some of the witches, then there should be some sort of dialogue to be had there. If your characters meet up with all of the ghosts and ghoulies and whatever else in the crypts, then yeah, there should be some sort of potential talking. Maybe it always does boil down to combat, but a narrative combat can be a lot more fun than just a flat-out combat. It's funny to think that the cast of Castle Ravenloft, many of whom are dead, still make this castle come to life. Of course, when your players see this thing for the first time, they're going to see all the lights and they're going to see the lightning flashing. But in reality, once your players start meandering about the place, as written, the place feels pretty dead. There's cobwebs everywhere, dust everywhere, and realistically, they're not getting into combats all the time. And even when they do, it's not always against some creature that could talk. It's sometimes against zombies, and sometimes against brooms and whatever else, right? So having these characters in here to make the place feel real and feel lived in is going to make Castle Ravenloft feel that much more dynamic and a lot more fun. And I promise you, when they get done exploring Castle Ravenloft, it's not only going to be the castle that they cared about, it's going to be the antagonist, friends, and foes that they made along the way. So go ahead and tell me, is there anybody in the cast of Castle Ravenloft you like the most? Or is there some people that you don't even like and are just going to simply write out? Do you imagine that your players are going to interact with all of them in a meaningful manner? Or are your players going to simply try and use a little bit of sword diplomacy the first time they meet? And will the cast of Castle Ravenloft make their way out of the castle into the lands of Barovia? Go ahead and tell me all those things because I would love to hear it. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. And thank you to my amazing patrons. You guys are absolutely incredible. Thank you so very much. And I cannot wait to see you all in the next one.